Welcome to another edition of The Insiders. I am Fitz, the guy across from me. Oh, wait, hold on. That way. Way over there is Brian Hanley. I could never do the weather. A guy who probably could do the weather, but does sports, Glenn Kinley from 27 in Topeka. And the man with the voice, the man with the presence. I ran out of stuff there. Tim Everson from the Manhattan Mercury.
We don't have our names on the bottom. Is that part of the new setup?
Hold on. What happened? They were supposed to be there. They were there earlier. It says display names.
People are going to mix me and Brian up if we don't have them.
Exactly.
It's not displaying names, and it's supposed to be displaying names.
Oh, no.
What?
Cancel the show.
Okay, that's not what I wanted, but thanks for putting that up. That was appreciated. Minimal. Okay, I still don't want that. Why are you showing that? It's always
hold on about the Liberty Bowl.
Yeah.
You covered.
I mean, what? Why? Why are you showing the banners? Hide.
Hey,
there we go.
Why did it do that to me? You know what? It was because of last week's show. I got so carried away last week, it decided not to work.
StreamYard decided he said we can't.
Yeah. Let's put him in timeout. I've got to run my headphones up underneath my sexy shirt, so who cares? Hey guys, let's have a normal show this week. But I do want to start with a correction, and I pointed this out immediately following the show. I had some information wrong last week about a conflict between the university president and head basketball coach. That wasn't correct. And I apologize. After further review of my notes, the many notes and texts and phone calls and everything, it was between the university president and one of the biggest donors to Kansas State, and then outside the locker room prior to that game. So I apologize for getting that wrong. But there was an occurrence. I wasn't crazy. I just too much information. And let's be honest, I'm working with the brain of a monkey. I'm sorry. We gotta face reality here that this brain ain't what it used to be. Kind of like Kansas State basketball from game to game. That was, guys. K-State loses last night. I've blacked out the score. I don't 66-40. So do you remember, Tim?
It's like 62 to 47. Does that sound right?
I think it was 18 points, so 66
or
something like that.
I mean, I've got them right here. I just don't want to ever see them again. Dreadful performance. And here's the thing is, Tim, you were there. When your team shoots the ball well, you are a brilliant coach. When your team shoots awful and scores 12 points and a half and misses 12 three-pointers. And by the way, they took 12 three-pointers in the second half and missed them all. And they weren't forced. They were open. You're not going to win. I mean, that's just the way basketball goes.
Yeah, surprisingly, 27.6% from the field just isn't going to get it done. A historically bad offensive night. I mean, it's 62 to 46 is the score. Thank you, Briar Star in the comments. Yeah, it was tough to watch, and it was. I don't know about Fitz, you or you guys watching it, but I was kind of waiting because this team has done this before, where they've been absolute crap and then have found a way to kind of hit that gear right in time to either get it to overtime or to get things back on track. And that gear just never came. And it was this is a better Nebraska team.
They were athletic.
That's like, they have pieces, but this isn't a top 15 Nebraska team. There's no world in which that kind of performance should have happened. But it did, and here we are.
Yeah.
Glenn, some nights your team's going to shoot poorly. That's just the way it goes. And that wasn't my real problem. I mean, that was just one of those things. My real problem was the fact that they got hammered on the boards.
Yeah.
And particularly the defensive boards, giving Nebraska a lot of second opportunities in the second half. That's what bothered me. I think that's what bothered Tang the most. Coach Tang said 3 great days of practice leading into this, and bleh. So when I got to credit Nebraska, this isn't just K-State playing bad. Fred Hoiberg's team came out in the second half and said, you know what? We're going to rebound every damn miss and turn it into a make. And they did.
Yeah, when you don't shoot the ball well, it's kind of about how you respond to that. And when you're not shooting the ball well, you have to find a way to do everything else right, whether that's defending really well or rebounding really well. And K-State really didn't do either. The defense, I guess, wasn't horrendous, but they certainly didn't rebound. It's kind of, we didn't expect this before the season. Tang talked about what a great shooter Tyler Perry is. And then I think before the season, or maybe right after their international trip, he said that he's had shooting metrics for their drills that he's been doing since his time at Baylor, that he was going to have to adjust the standard on these drills because they were hitting so many shots. So it's I don't want to say unusual because they haven't shot the ball great this year, but unexpected is the better word for them to shoot the ball this poorly. You have to hope that it doesn't continue. But if it does, like I said, then you got to find a way. If you're not shooting the ball well, then quit taking the threes and find a way to get it in the post. Find a way to get layups. Great idea, Glenn. Just get open layups. I should suggest that to him. I know, but it's more about what do you do when you're not shooting it well, because that's going to happen. And the best teams win when they're not playing well or not shooting well.
Well, that's part of it, Glenn, is what you mentioned. Is that's the problem with K-State. You're not shooting the ball well. You don't have a guy that you can just throw the ball into that can go get you a basket. And that's where the difference is that other teams and good teams, they have a way. Even if it's not just, okay, they're getting in the paint, but they have a way to get an open 8, 10, 12-foot shot for a guy or a layup for a guy. They have ways to be able to do that. K-State right now, they don't have that. And so that becomes a big problem. And if you're not making shots, and I know what they're thinking is that eventually one's going to go in. Well, it never went in, and you just keep shooting and you just keep missing. Look, guys can make baskets, and I fully understand that. But it's not like we have just knocked down, lights out shooters where they can just shoot themselves out of this. That's not what K-State has. And they acted like that, and then they paid for it, and then they got out-physicaled, which I think that was the problem that Coach Tang didn't like, is that they got out-physicaled. And when you get out-physicaled and you shoot bad, that's the kind of performance that you get.
Any reason to worry, Tim Everson?
Not yet. This is still not a team that isn't 100% together. I think that Quez Glover is going to add something that is going to kind of change how kind of things operate. I hope that his addition kind of helps things move a little smoother offensively. Maybe gets the ball out of Tyler Perry's hand a little bit, allows him to kind of get a little more free, allows them to maybe create more for open shots for him. But you gotta have someone that can just take over when things aren't going well. And I was starting to think after last week that person could be Arthur Kaluma.
Right.
Because he was dominant versus LSU and versus Villanova. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a Creighton, Nebraska thing, if that was in his head at all. I did notice that the Nebraska fans in the arena were especially loud whenever he went to the free throw line opposed to other people. I don't know, but there's you got to go. Wichita State's decent, but not great. You got to go win that, and then you have some stuff to figure out in that week and a half before they play Chicago State and then start Big 12 play.
So, Glenn, they do play Thursday in Kansas City against the Shockers. I'm not sure if you'll be there, but I hope you are. I hope I get to see you, Glenn Kinley.
I'm going home for Christmas, brother.
Oh, they're so selfish. I don't.
We can FaceTime if you want.
Oh, that'd be sweet. I like that. Let's do it from the game, so I can show you the game.
I'll screen record our FaceTime and run those highlights in our news.
Man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But this is a game now. They got to win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to blow the faith of your fan base, you lose to Wichita State, which in the past wouldn't have been a big deal, but right now you can't do that. And then after the break, the kids are leaving Kansas City. This game was scheduled for this date in Kansas City, so they got 5 days. They fly out the next morning, 5 days at home. Then they play early January against Chico State, and that is supposedly the first game back for Quez Glover. But this is just a crucial stretch. You got 2 games, and then you're into the Big 12. And that team that we saw last night is going to get beat badly in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They better get past that.
Yeah, briefly to touch on Quez Glover, earlier in the year when K-State had a game where Kaluma didn't play a home game, they were without Kaluma. Tomlin was still on the team at the time and wasn't playing, and then Quez Glover. One of the coaches told me, he goes, we were without 3 of our best players, if not our 3 best players. If that tells you how they feel about Quez Glover and kind of how big it is that they'll get him back, but they need a few wins. K-State needs to find a way to win when they're not playing well. If you only win the games when you play lights out, you're not going to win many Big 12 games. We've seen it down the road with KU. KU honestly hasn't looked great in a lot of their games, but they're 10-1 or 11-1, and they find a way to win even when they can't hit a shot to save their lives, even when nothing's going, even on the road this past weekend in Bloomington. They're finding ways to win when, quite frankly, they play poorly. And that's what K-State needs to find a way to do. If you're only winning when the shots are falling, if you're only winning or K-State's found a way to win when they don't play great, but it's against who was it? Oral Roberts and teams like that. They got to find a way to beat legitimate teams without everything going right. And I don't think it's I don't know what it is. We talked about a few weeks ago. It felt like maybe they have the puzzle pieces, but the pieces aren't put together and they're kind of spread out on the table. I think this past game, the pieces were spread out across 3 states or something like that. But I think that's still how I feel, is that they have these contributors, and it feels like they got to get them to work together. But yeah, it feels like K-State, to have a happy holidays, we're going to need a win on Thursday.
Brian, that last night had to be disheartening, but knowing you get to go play another meaningful game to the fan base in Kansas City, you would think the players can wash that and move on to this. Because if they really truly had great practices, I'm not overly worried. I'm like Tim, but if they repeat this in any way, I'll be concerned. I just don't see them shooting that poorly again. It's the rebounding and the defense I need to see corrected.
Yep. I was just going to say that. I don't mind the bad shooting night. Not that we want it, but you're going to have bad shooting nights. It's that they didn't fight. That's where the problem is. And when you're talking about fighting, rebounding, and defense is all effort. And we didn't see that. And basically they let shooting affect their defense. And you can't do that. You literally can't do that. Not if you're going to win meaningful basketball games. And that's what happened. But it's a learning curve. It's a learning process. Guys, who knows where their mental state really is. We thought that maybe it's all over, but these are still kids. They're still younger men. So you don't know what happened. But the bottom line is they just didn't play well. They missed a ton of shots. They let it affect them on the other end of the court. And they kind of gave up a little bit. I'm not saying they quit on the team or on each other, or if they just said, you know what, we're not going to make any shots. We're just not tough enough. This just isn't our game. And they kind of figured that out about 13 minutes to go in the second half. And then that was the end of it, So, but they got to bounce back. This is a good opportunity. Again, as I mentioned before, they're young men / still kids. So a lot of times you can throw that right out of there, a stinker right out of there, and get back at it. I think they need to get up and down the court a little bit more. I think they need to run a little bit more, get out and get some more layups, push the pace even more than what they're already doing. But again, they got to be able to get some baskets in the paint. They just have to be able to do that. And that's the problem, is that you got to get paint touches, paint points more than anything. But you definitely got to get the paint touches. But you got to be able to find a way to get some scoring in there.
Yeah, Fitz and Tim, I'm curious for you guys that were there. We had a reporter there. It wasn't me, but she said it seemed like Tang actually, after a loss like that, you expect him to, be furious. He didn't seem – what did you guys think? He didn't seem furious. Maybe that's a message to his team, hey, let's just drop this one and move on. I think that's probably a coaching strategy of knowing when to tear into your guys and knowing when to say, hey, go home and let's get the next one. What'd you guys think?
No, Glenn, you're right. From what we were able to tell from the post game, he was more upset about the fact that a couple of the bench players decided to run straight to the locker room after the game instead of go around and give all the fans high five than he was about the game. I think that I think it was the bad shooting. I think that he just really chalked it up mainly to that. According to him, he felt that the effort was there. Again, he was very high on the practice that they had leading into it. He was not concerned about anything else. He was like, there's going to be 4 games out of the year where this is just going to happen, where no matter what you do, I'll leave that to him. I still feel like this wasn't an unbeatable Nebraska performance.
No, it wasn't. They only shot 38% or something.
Yeah, they didn't shoot great, but they rebounded it.
Yep.
But still, I mean, I think that he is just trying to all right, we gotta just press on.
Yeah.
We got another game in 4 days. Go and have some good practices, have some good effort, and just have something positive kind of to hang on to going into Christmas.
Yeah, Nebraska played Frank Martin Bowl. Let's throw it up on the rim and go get it, and then you get a shorter shot. Maybe you make it, but let's go get those rebounds and score. After the game, I finished up my story. I just grabbed a quote off the post-game radio show there in the arena, and then headed up the tunnel for the press conference. And I expected to, arrive during Tang. I was surprised to see him sitting out in the tunnel. And K-State, I wonder if the promotion is going to come back for Big 12 season, but they've got a recliner back there that they give away for the free. Someone's got to hit 2 free throws in that thing or something. And he's just sitting in it, looking at the stats, and he's just kind of laughing like, this is unbelievable how bad this was. There's just unfathomable. Offered to get him a beer. He said no. And I thought that was generous of me. I had no idea where I'd get the beer from.
But you would have found it if he said yes.
Yeah. But I like the way he handles these things. I just, he went in there and said, the coaches failed these guys. We didn't have them ready to rebound at this level. They showed something that we're not protecting the backside of the rim on shots. And that's, as Brian will tell you, you put the ball up, particularly from the side, it's most likely going to the other side of the rim if you miss it. And that's what Nebraska took advantage of. And I'm not in any way blaming the officials, but the officials let Nebraska come over the top of blockouts quite a bit. There was some that were pretty egregious, pretty obvious that they got away with. But if you got to adjust to your officials, if that's what they're doing, man, you got to find a way to adjust. It was overall a frustrating night or day. But a good crowd, more than 10,000. The crowd stuck around for Jerome Tang's, part of the crowd stuck around for Jerome Tang's radio show. That was an interesting thing. That, I had one of my subscribers at Go Pirate Cat, said, hey, I want to try to get this. Can you help me get it out there? So I did. I don't know how many people, about 500. It was about triple normal, I think. Maybe quadruple normal, but boy, they made a lot of noise to show some love and support for Coach Tang. And I discovered why he's late to press conferences. Unlike any of us, he signs autographs. He was signing a lot of autographs after a bad loss.
You assume I don't sign autographs.
So I'm sorry. I didn't know.
I was going to say, I am willing. If there's anyone out there that wants a Tim Everson autograph, just come find me.
Yeah. Well, Big B and I don't. No. We don't like to have the little people around us. And we mean that in 2 ways.
I didn't say that I signed up for free.
Yeah. Okay, Pete Rose. You're watching The Insiders. We're about a quarter of the way in, a little more than that. 4 guys talking about K-State sports. And today we're going to talk about more than just K-State sports. On the other side of the break, I plan on getting to just some bowl feelings about the 9 bowl games involving the teams. I don't necessarily, who studied the Tax Act Bowl? No, not me. So we'll just kind of talk about the bowls in general. We're not really touching on that one topic, that one thing. But I do kind of want to round this up with this. I thought it was interesting, really interesting last night. And I guess it happened Saturday at the women's game. For the first time ever, they didn't introduce the president of the university to welcome you to the game. And Tim, I just thought that was, I know why, everyone knows why they did it, but I just thought, just take your medicine, if it happens.
Look, it's if you can avoid getting the president for your university booed, especially after things have kind of calmed down a considerable amount, I don't blame them. for wanting to do that. President Linton was in attendance. He was sitting down next to Gene Taylor for the majority of the game, down by the band where Gene normally sits. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame K-State for doing that, because that's only going to kind of shake things up more in a direction that they don't want that to happen. So
I think they did the same thing with after Avery had the 4 or 5 touchdown performance at Tech. I don't think they announced a starting quarterback.
They didn't.
Game.
Right.
They just ran out there for the drive, and usually they say in at quarterback Will Howard, but they just said first down.
Well, they didn't do like the little videos of like, or they specifically didn't do a quarterback one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was curious. I really didn't care. I've always thought it's kind of goofy they do announce that. He's not really out there welcoming anyone. It's just there's an arena. Ernie Barrett's actually out there with the big statue welcoming you. But Brian, is it a big deal to you at all? I mean,
it's not, but
I thought it was weird.
Yeah. At one point it's going to happen. So let's make that clear. I mean, at some point it is going to happen. But number two, I'm with you, Fitz. I'm not sure why it even is a thing anyway. I've been to a lot of college basketball games, and I don't remember, other than at K-State, I don't remember any other universities saying the president welcomes you to anything. I've never heard that.
I've always thought it's weird.
I mean, it is what it is, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I agree with Tim. I think it's good that they didn't do it to rile him, especially if he's there. If he wasn't there, take your medicine while you're not there. That would have been fine. Get it over with. But if he's there, then we're really drawing some unwelcome attention that we just got to move on at some point. We got to move on. Still want answers, but we got to move on.
Well, let's give him credit. He was there.
Yeah,
he was
right.
there, sitting
That's
visibly along courtside next to Gene Taylor. There was no great conversations about the game or the arts or the conflict of the Middle East going on between those two men, but they did sit with each other the entire game. And so I thought that was notable also.
Briefly, while we're on the topic, because I know we don't want to stick on it too long, I did just think it was hilarious. I posted the soundbite of Jerome Tang. I asked him if this whole situation changes his, his happiness at K-State or whether or not he wants to be here long term, and he gave me a really good answer. But I had quote tweets on that video back to back, same soundbite, and one of them said, "It's over. He's leaving after this year for sure. We're done." And the next one said, "Jerome Tang is never leaving K-State. It's confirmed."
That's what I
love
exactly. And I went back after seeing those quote tweets on your tweet and listened to it again. I'm like, man, he answered yes and no at the same time.
Yeah.
He gave both sides exactly what they thought they would hear.
And then the second funniest thing of the quote tweets, there were I didn't realize, and Brian, I guess I could have gotten filled in from you here. People call Louisville the Ville. And
absolutely.
I didn't know this, so people were saying Jerome Tang's going to the Ville, and I was like, I mean, he might be going to Aggieville, but I don't feel like he said that in the soundbite.
It has been all over U of L chat boards. The whole city is buzzing about. I mean, my phone has blown up. What do you know about it? What do you know? And I'm like, I don't know anything. I don't even know what you're talking about.
And here I thought they were just saying he was going down to Kites.
No.
Why? Yeah. What's going on with Louisville basketball? Are they going to be looking for a new coach?
Gee, they're doing
1,000%
so well.
Kenny Payne has absolutely no idea what he's doing. It's sad because he's a really, really good man, a very good man. He's even a really good recruiter. He's good at that. He's getting in homes, getting kids there. He just doesn't know how to coach basketball and he's not a leader of men, if that makes sense, or a leader of a team. He's not the leader. And kids can pick up on that. And that's what's going on at Louisville basketball. He's just not a leader of kids. He's not the leader. He's not the guy. Yeah. He can be part of it. And it has completely fallen apart. It'll be ugly on Thursday when Kentucky's going to come there. They're playing in Louisville, and they're expecting now it's 22,000 people in the Yum Center in Louisville. They're expecting about 12 to 13,000 Kentucky fans in there. And if that happens, if that really happens, I don't know that Kenny Payne makes it to Christmas.
No,
I mean, and they get blown out. If that happens, which I think they're going to get blown out, But then you get 13,000 fans of Kentucky in your arena. Yeah, I don't know if he gets to Christmas.
While we're bouncing around different schools, Memphis might be really good with Naquan Tomlin.
Memphis,
I think
they're already good. That's right.
And they're already really solid. And like, I feel like we're not talking enough about the huge addition that Tomlin is. Had he been portaling over the summer, he would have been one of the best players in the portal, probably,
Absolutely.
or at least one of the highest ceiling players in the portal. So they might be really legit when he gets in there and starts playing.
Yeah, I was skeptical about Penny being able to coach. It seems like he may have talked to the right people, and he's got a little something figured out on how to actually coach. So I think Memphis is going to be really good. People should look out.
And they play at Wichita State in January, so I think you might see some purple in Coke Arena.
Yeah, I had a member of the Louisville media reach out to me. You guys probably know who it is. He used to be in Topeka, and just kind of say, want me to fill him in, and said that Payne's going to be gone, and they're going to just start immediately looking for a coach, and they expect to do what we do in America in college athletics now. They're going to attempt to solve the problem with lots of money. It doesn't always solve the problem, but it makes you feel like you really tried hard. But we'll keep an eye on that. I will continue to trust him in his word that he's, not planning to go anywhere, but we'll see.
And not to rub any more salt in the wound, but to maybe put a topper on this this half. Who probably would have been of a big help versus Nebraska? Naquan Tomlin.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Glenn, I did think that was a curious answer at his press conference when he talked about trying to replace Naquan on the roster and try to do it immediately like Memphis did, probably going overseas, or at least find someone that can come in and practice and then be ready for next year, help him out in practice. But I thought his feelings kind of came through when he said, well, I'm not going to find a 6'10" NBA ready guard forward that can shoot it and
can play all five positions.
It just described Naquan.
He kind of quickly described, one, how good Naquan can be, and two, how he feels about him in a hurry. But he was obvious about that. And it sounds like they are going to try to add to the roster. Whether or not it's somebody that can take the floor, we don't know yet.
Yep, we'll find out. They are always working to uncover players.
And probably the next most interesting thing to me that he said in that press conference, he more or less, I think, kind of answered what we were all thinking. And he said, when you asked him, Fitz, about closure and kind of about, okay, even if it's not the answer you wanted, does having an answer help? And he said, we're going to fight until the very end and try to get what we want. And then if we don't, speaking in hypothetical, no specific situation, if we don't, we're going to have to accept it and move on. And he used a lesson that he's talked about with his players before. He said, tough people do the next right thing. And so I think he has the right mindset. I think they are going to move on. They're not going to pout for the rest of the season. They're not going to say, okay, well, we're an NIT team now because we're on Naquan. It's not our fault. We tried to keep him. And so I think the staff has the right mindset, but it sounds like they did fight to try and keep him, which is what we already thought.
I had people in my Twitter mentions last night. Well, this is all part of it. No, the game had nothing to do with the situation. They knew about this when they played at LSU and played so well. So
I think maybe they didn't play well because there wasn't enough distractions this time.
Exactly. They got to get some more distractions. Let me write that down. I'll work on that. People seem to think that that's all I was doing.
There wasn't enough drama.
And Glenn, I was told you looked very uncomfortable last week on the show. Was Glenn Kinley uncomfortable?
No, I was all right, man. I wasn't feeling well. That was people in my mentions though. And then someone else replied and said that I was actually in the hospital. And then I think the original person felt bad. So I don't know, man.
That worked out then.
The hospital jokes helped me out, but no.
Well, I'm glad you've moved over to the mental ward now with the padded walls. That's cool.
It's looking good in here, and I like how the light is just right on top of me.
Yeah,
not really in front of me, so the top of my head is really bright.
Be thankful it's not me, or all the immigrants would be coming to Kansas because the beacon of freedom would be shining. You're watching The Insiders. We're going to take a short break right now, and afterwards, we're going to turn our attention to football. We're going to talk about K-State December 28th against NC State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Pop-Tarts Bowl. I hate sponsorship bowl names, but some reason I kind of like this one. Pop-Tarts Bowl. And we're not going to get into much in depth here. It's not like the four of us are sitting around scouting all the bowl games. Well, Big B might be. That's why you need to watch his podcast once in a while. Watch him. Go subscribe to his channel. He'll break stuff down. When I first met him, he was talking about the hockey, and I'm like, what? I'm so confused. He's covering everything. We stick to K-State Big 12 sports for the most part here, and we'll be right back after this short break. We are back on the Insiders. Tim Fitzgerald, Brian Hanley, Glenn Kinley, Tim Everson. Guys, I'm actually impressed how many shows the four of us have been together with. I have all these backups lined up, and all we've ever had to do is settle on Ryan Gilbert, which is a step down. I think that I get notes from the viewers. Why do you let him have a camera? Don't let him just black out his picture. It's so ugly. But here we are. We're going to start kicking in here. But let's just start here. Brian, how important is this bowl game for K-State? It's a completely different bowl game in the fact that, and Coach Kleiman kind of admitted, it doesn't feel as much like the end of the 23 season as much as the beginning of the 24 season.
Absolutely. I think we're going to start getting into more of that when you get these bowl games, especially next year when the playoff goes to 12. Bowl games, to me, are still important, and especially moving into next year with the transfer portal and guys leaving before because of the way that the rules are set up. I think it is absolutely an audition for next year. There's going to be some guys that are still playing. Cooper Beebe's still going to be playing, some seniors, offensive linemen, stuff like that. The guys are going to be out there, but for the most part, look, we're trying to see what we have for next year. And that's what K-State should treat this like as next year. I think that's what a lot of the other big programs do, is that if they're not in the playoff, they are treating this bowl game that they qualify for as, okay, what are we doing next year? And even if Will was here and Will was playing, I think Avery should have gotten 75% of the snaps in the bowl game. That's just my personal opinion, because we got to move forward. We got to see what we got. And those practices matter. Look, I was a part of the practices in 1997 when Michael Bishop got tremendously better from the end of the season to the Fiesta Bowl. He was a totally different quarterback, and you could see it just from the time we got to practice all those days. And trust me, Coach Snyder was a stickler when it came to beating us over the head in those practices. There was no walkthroughs or anything like that. We were out there, and I've seen everybody get better. Myself, I got better just going out there and practicing. And then the game is kind of refreshing. Okay, you know what? I did get better. This is working, what the coaches are saying. So I think some of the kids will see that, especially since there's going to be so many young kids out there. It means a lot, Fitz. I know it's a long-winded answer, which I usually give, but it means a lot to those young guys. And for people that always say these bowl games are meaningless, they've never participated in one, never been a parent of a kid that went to a bowl game.
Yeah, and Brian, I would say, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, I think it's an important bowl game. I don't know if win-loss is the end of the world in this bowl game. I care more about what I see. And like you said, the 5-6 weeks or whatever it is of preparation for the bowl game, I think are huge. I care more about that than I do win-loss.
Yep.
If the offense looks great, if Avery looks great, if some young players make some great plays, and also some young players are going to make some mistakes, but if the effort's there and if Avery throws a few good balls, I think people will be really excited for the 2024 season.
Absolutely. Bowl games are different than what they were back when I played. Back when I played, you wanted to win. Mm-hmm. Nobody opted out or anything. Times change. I'm not saying that one way is better than the other. Times are just different now. So now it's, if you're not in the playoff, okay, what are we doing for next year? Because we're going to lose people to the transfer portal. We got to go out there and make a game, make these guys understand it's about next year. Go make some plays. We want to win. Don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to win. Every competitor wants to go win, but we want to go play well. And I think that means more than anything, just what you said, Glenn. As long as guys are out there playing well, defense is flying around, and more than importantly, and I know a lot of K-State fans are going to agree with me on this one, effort. Because the last time we saw them play, they didn't show effort. So that's one thing that I know K-State fans are going to want to see in this game. Some excitement and some effort.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fairly confident of one thing. They will not be playing in a blizzard. That's about it. That's about it.
I can check with our meteorologist just to confirm.
If that happens, we got bigger problems.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Tim Everson, with all that was just said about K-State going with the youth movement, I always trust Vegas, and it's proven to me over and over whenever I bet against Vegas and what they think is going to happen, I lose. Kansas State's a 3-point favorite. I was intrigued by that it's held up and it's still going. But I think this is going to be an entertaining bowl. The Pop-Tarts Bowl is pretty excited about having 2 ranked teams.
Yeah, it is exciting and it's interesting. I think that if, K-State fans that are concerned about our current transfer situations should talk to some North Carolina State fans, because it's a similar boat. They're dealing with a quarterback mix up too. The one they like is in the portal.
That was a weird deal too.
It was too. He played and then he was like, "Well, I want to keep my red shirt," which that's got to be frustrating. Imagine that. Imagine Avery playing 4 games and then being like, "Well, I definitely don't want to be here anymore, and so I could play the rest of the season, but I don't want to, and so I'm just going to sit and transfer." Weird. But still be on the roster it's just crazy.
You don't keep that kid on the roster. You
wouldn't. You absolutely shouldn't. And if there's a way you could get rid of his scholarship, you should probably think about doing that too. But that's just me.
By the way, I get a lot of weird stuff in my mentions. I'm telling you, a lot of weird stuff. But today, having 5-hour energy in my mentions, because I drink this on the show was kind of fun. So this is clear pandering for sponsorship.
I like it.
Yeah.
A spot for it down there in the corner. Yeah.
Yep,
that's
exactly.
Right.
We still got the ad spot. The cat scratch is in there right now because it's the holidays and nobody needs a cat scratch in the holidays. Let's move on to some. Oh, hold on. I want to talk about this real quick. It looks more and more like Will Howard is headed to USC. Yeah. Now, when I heard about the USC thing, I'm like, really? That just doesn't seem like a fit. I don't know why. I mean, there's such a different style between, what they have and what they would have. Mm-hmm. And then I learned this little tidbit, Lincoln Riley came to Manhattan to meet with Will. Mm-hmm. And that was early on. He had a twofer while in town. He sat down with Kleiman to talk about Matt Ince, the North Dakota State coach that followed Kleiman and coached on Kleiman's staff. He just hired him to be their linebackers coach. He had a 2-for-1. So I kind of thought maybe the Howard thing was just kind of some window dressing, like I'll kick the tires, but I really want to talk about this coach.
Yeah.
But no, it's looking more and more like Will Howard will follow Caleb Williams at USC. Their equivalent of Avery Johnson hit the portal today.
Yeah. And this is what it is for me, Fitz, and this is going to be a weird comparison, but I was telling my friends this. This is like, for me, when the Bears drafted Justin Fields, I loved Justin Fields, loved the pick. I was all excited about it. And then the Patriots took Mac Jones a few picks later, and I said, wait a minute. If Bill Belichick wants him, what do they know that I don't? Now, obviously, in this situation, worked out all right. Mac Jones isn't exactly lighting it up out there. But it was one of those moments, if Lincoln Riley, who had a 5-star quarterback, wants him, it makes you just think a little bit, and it makes you be like, okay, I hope we made the right pick here. I think K-State, I'm not saying anything with that. I think K-State fans are excited about Avery, but Lincoln Riley seems like he can typically kind of have the pick of his quarterback. And if Will Howard gets in his offense, that could be fun.
But I think it says more about, I think his name is Malachi Nelson that's leaving. I think it says more about him because if you went to USC to be the quarterback and all of a sudden they're going out into portal to get another guy, I think that says more about him than it does anything else because he was the #1 recruit in all of high school football. And yet it's your turn and they're looking somewhere else. Either you're not ready or you are, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think it says more about that. So if that's the case for Will, good for him, because while we know that Lincoln Riley, apparently he's trying to do some defensive stuff now. At least he can coach quarterbacks. He knows how to at least do that. I don't know if he's a great leader. Matter of fact, I'm pretty positive he's not.
Yep.
But at least he can coach quarterbacks. I know he can do that.
Yeah, they might only win 6 or 7 games, but they're going to average 42 points a game.
That's right. So that'll help Will.
Tim's now in the dark.
I swear it was charged, but whatever.
That's they're kind of like my energy levels. Like you get half charge and like, okay, I'm done, and it just shuts off. That's the way I operate now. But Tim, Downingtown, Pennsylvania, to Manhattan, Kansas, to Los Angeles. It's intriguing to me, but it's also kind of cool because they're in the Big Ten. That team's going to be playing, I would assume, I haven't looked at the schedule, somewhere closer to home in Pennsylvania. I don't know if they play Penn State next year or not, but just a very interesting situation. Kind of cool for Will.
Yeah, the manifest destiny of Will Howard, slowly but surely taking over the contiguous United States. I love it.
LA.
I love it because we all are aware of what Lincoln Riley does for college quarterbacks.
Right.
Obviously, I've seen a lot of people be like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, Lincoln Riley running off Malachi Nelson for Will Howard."
Yeah.
Well, I get it.
Why would he? Okay, if he was so good, then he would have the starting spot locked up.
He'd be playing in this bowl game coming up, and he's
absolutely,
not.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes perfect sense that because he would know after 2 years or after a year of having him on the roster, he would know if he was ready to go, and if he's not ready, and he thinks. Don't you think that any of the other portal quarterbacks, if USC was like, "Hey, come over here," they would want to come?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley wanted Will Howard immediately.
Yep.
Immediately. He was here the week after he entered the portal.
Yep.
And I think that there are a lot of things that Lincoln Riley is not very good at, and I think that the deficiencies that we've seen at USC are just kind of a growth of the things that we saw at Oklahoma, except he ran into a very, very good Pac-12 this year, and they got knocked around. But if he believes that Will Howard can be a top-tier quarterback in the country, I believe him. And I think that this is going to be fantastic for Will. This is going to give him probably his best shot to audition to be a pro quarterback. So I'm excited for him.
Yep. I pulled up their schedule, and their schedule is incredible. So as far as next year at USC, if he goes, the first game they play LSU. And then the third game, it's Michigan. So, I mean, they play, Penn State, Washington, Nebraska, UCLA, Notre Dame. So he is going to have the visibility that he is looking for. So more power to him. If that's what it ends up being, more power to him.
And I would like to stick with my prediction that I made last week or the week before on the show that K-State plays Will Howard in a bowl game next year. I don't know what bowl game. I still don't know for sure if it's USC, but wherever he goes, that'll be who K-State plays in the bowl.
Interesting. So we're just going to go cut right to the Rose Bowl, right?
Who knows? 12-team playoff. They could meet.
Yeah, good.
We did get a question in the chat though, a paid question. So I feel like we got to address it.
I don't have that up because I'm getting ready to do some other stuff. But let's do it.
It's
Cornelio,
this North Carolina State linebacker.
Oh yes. Good morning to you all. That's very nice, you Cornelio. Are you familiar with the NC State linebacker Elber, who is not playing in our game? And I'm just not saw he's an All-American linebacker. Yeah, that they've got some guys sitting this one out. Honestly, I thought it was really funny. Chris Kleiman admitted I haven't scouted them one bit. I mean, I'm just working on other stuff. I'll get to it.
I don't think he hadn't been at practice in a while.
I get it, man. So, it's that time of the year. You got to do what you got to do. The bowl prep will take care of itself. You got assistants, you got GAs. You got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
So, but the one thing is, I do know about that linebacker because again, I follow Louisville. They played Louisville. The guy was all over the field. I think he's probably the number 1 or 2 best linebacker in the country. I know because he's a first team All-American. A lot of people say that, but just there's a lot of times a guy may not be a first-team All-American is better than those guys. This guy is legitimate. So K-State's catching a break
solid
here.
break.
Yeah, they're catching a break here.
While we're talking linebackers, maybe the biggest news that not many people are talking about from this past week is Austin Moore announced he's going to come back next year. Guys, he's good. That's so and that linebacker group all of a sudden looks terrific for next year. You're talking about Austin Moore, Desmond Purnell, and then two young guys who I thought actually were really good this year, Jake Clifton and Austin Romaine. I think Jake Clifton's going to be a stud. So you're looking at 4 linebackers that are coming back next year. That
plus Asa Newsome.
Yeah, Asa Newsome looks really good.
Would have been probably
he'd have been
close to all Big 12 level. Yeah. He was looking so good early in the season. So I mean, they're in a good spot.
You know, and I know this is maybe not where we're trying to go with this, Fitz, so I apologize. I just wanted to bring it up. I know K-State fans were just freaking out over the portal. And I want to reiterate again, we would have seen the same thing had we not gone to the Sugar Bowl last year. And if you just take a second and just dive into it, you're going to lose every single year from here on out until they decide that they don't allow this anymore. You're going to lose between 10 and 20 guys every single season. But you're also going to get between 10 and 20 guys every single season. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your program. It just means guys want opportunities to go somewhere else. It's just like Will. Will love K-State. But you know what? He needs an opportunity to go do something else for him, and that's okay. So I just don't want people to freak out. I know people are going to still freak out about it no matter what you say, but I think that for the most part, the transfer portal, it's been better to K-State than it's been bad. Yeah. I mean, if you're just thinking about it, what we've received versus what's left, it's been better. It's been good for us.
I don't know, man. I lost Joshua Youngblood, and I thought the program was going down.
Boy, those were the days. Let's get to some of these real quick. We got about 10 minutes to go here. This one took place. This was part of my Saturday binge watching. Texas Tech managed to fumble the opening kickoff
and win.
One play later, they're down 7-0, and they win 34-14. Tech looked good. Cal really started to play some good football towards the end of the year, but I think this kind of showed where the conferences are. I don't want to blow out the one head-to-head, but I thought Tech just looked far superior in every way during this game after the opening kickoff.
The thing people got to remember, Tech played Oregon to 8.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And Oregon is really, really good. I mean, lost 2 games to a team that's in the playoffs. That's it. So,
yeah, Tech's the team that we all thought was going to be like a title contender, Big 12 title contender before the season, and then they didn't really pan out. But it seems like we see flashes of it, and there's moments where you're like, that's what we thought we were getting, and they didn't get it consistently enough. But you see flashes of it, and that quarterback of theirs might end up being pretty good.
Didn't Tech play 3 QBs this year?
Yep.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
They might have played 3 against K-State.
Yeah. No, they were down to 2. They were down to their 3rd string in that second half when Avery took over.
Yeah.
And they did all this. One of their best wide receivers was in Manhattan. So I mean, it's Tech. So I mean, it's a solid win for them.
They lost one of their top receivers to the portal, and he's looking at Kansas State. I was really happy for Tech to finish on that high note. I thought they'd be better, but they do show signs of it. Everyone talks about the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl.
Gosh, I can't get people to shut up about it.
I love the sponsorship because nobody's getting mortgages right now, right, Brian?
Nope. No. They're about to, though. Rates are coming down.
Yep,
They're going to come down next year, but not right now. No.
UCF and Georgia Tech, kind of a regional game here. I'm impressed Georgia Tech's in a bowl. I got to be honest. That's just getting above that 6-win or getting to that 6-win mark for Tech is pretty notable. But guys, I think UCF rolls. I think with their quarterback back, they have been a lot better.
And they learned how to tackle. That's all that I remember about UCF. Yeah. It's just that
they did apparently.
They came to Lawrence and Manhattan, and I think both teams combined for 100 passing yards and beat them both badly.
Yeah, basically Kansas high school ranks ran for more than 500 yards on that defense.
It was DJ Gibbs and Devin Neal just being like, "Do you guys mind if I run you over for 4 quarters?"
Yes, it was unbelievable. Next one up, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which is the bowl in Phoenix. It's been the Cactus Bowl, been a couple of other things. Nobody loves it. Nobody wants to stay the sponsor more than a week. But I'm sure Guaranteed Rate is a fine company. Yeah. And unfortunately for Kansas, there was a shortage of P5 schools. So UNLV fills this spot. Kansas is a 12.5-point favorite, and I think they win. But UNLV is pretty put together. I was impressed when I watched them this year.
I think the quarterback hit the portal. I think that's why that line jumped. It opened smaller, and then he hit the portal, and it jumped pretty big. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I think it should be a fun one. I think it's
gonna be a lot of points.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think the over under is 60.
Yeah, they hit that by halftime.
Yeah.
Wow.
It could be. Maybe we'll get another repeat of the Liberty Bowl last year was awesome.
Yes, it was.
That game was one of the best college football games I've seen. That was incredible.
Okay, so we've established I'm a horrible sports bettor. In fact, this house is now on its third mortgage. That's a lie. But before that game last year, when we were in Nolans, my sidekick Zach Carlson said, "Fitzy, have you seen this prop bet? Jalen Daniels more than 500 yards passing," and the number was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to waste my money on that. And then he did it.
Yeah.
It was right there.
Barry Odom wasn't he the offensive coordinator for Arkansas last year?
Good point. He might have been.
Right. So now he's at UNLV. So now,
yeah.
And then of course, obviously former Missouri coach. But like, I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I feel like he was there, but maybe it was further back than I don't
Quick
remember.
topic here. Chris Kleiman talked about this horrible buildup of things that happened from the last game to, you have to start getting ready for bowl game. It's recruiting. It's the transfer portal. Guys, the transfer portal's just got to stay closed until after bowls. This shouldn't be going on. I mean, if this is truly still the season, why are you letting players leave?
Yeah,
it's tough because you got the bowls and kids have to get enrolled. Yeah. It's like, okay, if you wait till after the bowl season, then how do you get enrolled? How do you go take visits if you have a week to do it? It just, I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. It's nuts, but in all circumstances, to take it all the circumstances in, this might actually be the best thing, because if we're really looking out for what the kids, in their best interest. If not, then you're right. Maybe we just keep it open for a week or two. And hey, if you're in the transfer portal, you got to decide, or you got to go and you can't go at the semester.
Yep.
And you got to go at the end of the year.
It's a mess.
They make it tough.
Yeah, and teams won't like that because they want to get them in there for the spring.
Absolutely, especially a quarterback or offensive lineman, stuff like that. Other positions you can kind of learn as you go, but you can't do that as a quarterback. That usually doesn't work that well.
It's mad. We got guys. You got guys transferring from teams that are in the playoff.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it is, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they have to, because one that I felt bad about, which I don't feel bad about anything for Texas, but Malik Murphy, and he came out and he was just like, I love Texas, but I also want to play. Yeah, and I know I'm not going to play. So I have to leave now, because if I don't leave now, I can't. I have no chance to get a spot to where I want to go. So it stinks, but that's what it is.
Yep,
it's what it
agree.
is.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl on Wednesday, the 27th. West Virginia, that a team nobody can figure out, against North Carolina, a team that's also hard to figure out. And the winner gets punished by having mayo dumped on the head coach's head. I don't really have any thoughts on this other than, do coaches really want to win this game? I don't think they will really. Nobody wants it.
I see Neil Brown as a Mayo guy.
Yeah,
I see Mac Brown as a Mayo guy. I think both.
I was going to say, I bet Mac Brown is a Mayo guy. You know how he's dancing in the locker room? I bet he would thrive in that.
We need a video of a couple guys covered in mayo singing "Country Roads Take Me Home." That can be good stuff. I think this game could be fun, though. I think West Virginia's kind of they've been a weird team, but they've been, I think, kind of like a frisky team, a fun team to watch this year. Unpredictable in a good way. Wow. If I have to imagine it's miserable for their fans, but if you don't have a rooting interest and you're just like tuning in, I think this could be a fun one.
Go ahead. this game be played in 3 inches of mayo,
Yes.
like the K-State game. I think that'd be make it a lot of fun.
Could be
More fun. This bowl, I kind of have a crush on this bowl because I think this bowl is exceptionally well run, and I think it's poised to kind of move up the pecking order. Brian, when you played and ended up in the 98 Alamo Bowl, that was like a low bowl, and now it's the highest of the
Correct.
non New Year's bowls for this conference. I feel like this bowl is poised to do that. And they got a pretty good matchup, but Oklahoma State and A&M both struggled at times this year, even though Oklahoma State – what's that S in there before Oklahoma State? Does anyone know what that is? Why is it in there? And who put it in there? We're hiding that. And but anyhow, I'm kind of looking forward to this game. I really am. And I don't know why. I just kind of like the Texas Bowl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a well-run bowl. You're right. It's at an NFL stadium. I think it's one of the nicer ones in Houston. That's a really nice stadium. But they usually match two teams that usually get a good game, is what I should say. They usually get a good game, and I think we're going to get another one here. I think A&M is better than what people think they are just because they lost some games. They lost some close games, but I think A&M is a little better. I wouldn't be surprised if A&M doesn't win this football game.
A&M is in the Houston-based Texas Bowl for the 900th time. Just a little tidbit.
It's also stink because they don't get to go anywhere.
I know. Hey, where are we going? We're just going up the road to Houston. Oh, fantastic. So when we drive the hour or whatever it is, then we're in Houston. Oh crap!
I still feel like Oklahoma State they played in the Big 12 championship game. I know, and they won a lot of games. They beat a lot of good teams. I still feel like they're fraudulent. I think they have to be one of the worst teams to play for a Big 12 title in Arlington.
Yep,
ever.
I would agree. With that. We already talked about the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the Alamo Bowl. What a great matchup. Oklahoma and Arizona, soon to be former Big 12 against future Big 12. A lot of fans will be watching this. I know. I'm looking forward to see how Arizona matches up with the Oklahoma Sooners.
And is this one a similar one maybe to K-State with Oklahoma? I know Dylan Gabriel hit the portal, right? And he's going to Oregon now. So I don't know how many other guys they've had at the portal. I haven't looked. But maybe a similar thing for them where you're fired up, you're going to a good bowl, but you're using it as a springboard into next year.
Yep.
Yeah. They have a really good quarterback, freshman at Oklahoma as well. I can't remember what his name is. That's right, Jackson Arnold. He's from Denton, so not too far from where I live. He's really good.
But Arizona, I agree with Emilio in the comments. I think that Arizona is going to do some bad things to that Oklahoma defense. They did not impress me all year, and Arizona looked fun.
They got it together, didn't they? The first 3 games, they didn't look good at all, and then they figured it out quickly.
I think they found
really good.
They finally found the
quarterback. Yeah,
guy. I can't remember his name, but they had the Jaden Delora guy.
Yep.
And then they switched.
And somebody in the comments did recognize this, so I want to throw it out there. If Oklahoma wins, we will be counting as a Big 12 win.
Yes.
And if Oklahoma loses, we will actually be counting as a new Big 12 school beating the team that actually left.
Yes. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Just so we're clear, as long as we specify beforehand, we get to choose how to depict it however we want.
I did put out a daily delivery today saying the Big 12 needs to root for Texas. And you thought I stepped into controversy last week. Oh my gosh. I apologize for that take. I just think you claim it as a win. You claim it for the conference.
Squeeze the money out of them while they're here.
Exactly.
It's probably I don't want to say a win-win, but if Texas gets badly beaten up, then you can be like, and you guys think you can compete in the SEC? Really? Like you guys are too good to leave our conference, and this is how you perform in the playoff. And if they win, it's like, okay, you can still kind of claim them,
yep.
Like I said, with the Oklahoma game. And so
win-win.
I think there's a win-win for the Big 12 in a way.
The Liberty Bowl
to see the Big 12 conference post, a graphic if they were to win, and the Texas fans just be livid that they're still claiming them.
I don't even want to talk about this game. The Liberty Bowl is Iowa State against Memphis. Congratulations, Memphis! You get to play your big title game on your home field, and that's exciting for them. Yeah. But this bowl will feature running water this year. So that's kind of a nice.
Hey, a step in the right direction.
Last year they had a huge water main break and downtown had no water.
That's just what happens when KU comes. That's
It's just the plumbing issues pop up.
happens. Yeah.
Okay, I see. And the Big E, let's wrap it up with this. The All-State Sugar Bowl, the semifinal on New Year's Day. Texas and Washington, despite the seedings you see there with their names, man, Texas is a, 4.5 point favorite or something? I was a little surprised by it, boys, but I think Texas is pretty good. I think Texas is an exceptional football team. When they want to stay focused, I don't think anyone's beating them. But Washington, these might be the two best teams. They just might be. I think Texas wins this.
I do too. The reason being is because Texas, every now and then, Washington will want to run the football. I know they air it out, and that's what they're known for, but they're going to try to run it. They're not going to be able to run an inch. And also, their offensive line isn't great. And we know that Texas's defensive line is. And they are going to get after Penix. They are going to get after him. And also, Washington's defense is not any good. Let's just say that and throw it out. They're not any good. Texas will be able to run it. They'll be able to throw it. They'll be able to do whatever they want to. As long as they're not committing penalties and turning it over, they will have a field day against that Washington defense. I know it's painful to say, but Texas is winning this game, and I'm not going to be surprised if Texas doesn't win this whole thing.
Was the Pac-12 this year kind of what people?
Oh, he froze. He froze right in the middle of a thought.
Oh no.
Oh, do you think he froze forever?
Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah.
I didn't think it, I never once assumed it was the computer. I thought it was you.
I said Pac-12 and you cut me off.
Yeah. So I do have a freeze button here. Oh, I don't like this. I'm going to freeze.
Moving on.
Any thoughts on Texas, Tim Everson?
I'm with Brian. I think that Texas defensive line, I don't think they saw anything comparable to that out west, and I don't think it's possible that no one in the country has seen anything comparable to that. And may just be wishing, just because that being 4 yards away from a win against Texas, and as far as Texas can go, will make K-State look better. But I think that they're the team this year. I think they're going to do it.
I agree. That's it for this week's edition of The Insiders. We will not be back next week. None of us are working on Christmas Day. That's how close we are to the holidays.
That's not true. I'll be working on Christmas Day.
That's true. But we don't want to.
Tune in for the Tim Everson solo show.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Live from Orlando.
Just plugging away in Orlando.
The Insider.
Yeah. We'll just turn this into like a live documentary between Everson and Cole Carmody and Zach Carlson.
Zach and Cole and I will go live from Fogo to Chow.
Can we get a GoPro on Tim in Orlando? That's what we need.
The Tim Cam. I love it. I love it. Remember, we will do the Fitzcast on the 28th for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. If you want to watch at home and then pull us up on another device, we'll be having some fun with that. We might do it again later, because January 1st, another day the Insiders won't be on, is a pretty good slate of games, including Texas. So stay tuned for that. And we appreciate our new potential sponsor, 5 Hour Energy, as I continue to kiss their butt, because I just want.
I'm open to a 5 Hour Energy tattoo. So
Yes. Okay. Yes, I am. Not on my face, because this thing is gold.
We'll get a neck tat for sure.
Yeah, you just don't do that. That's it. Well, we're going away now.